Hey there, avid listeners. Thanks again for tuning in to Sin's Workshop. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about The Ninth Life by Taylor B. Barton. So this is a story. It's about a cat who doesn't wish to die. So he makes a pact with his goddess, and he wants to be human because he's in love with his owner. And isn't that adorable? So he does take over the body of a kid who OD'd, and it's his body now. You know, that kid, he is dead. He did die. So she just put the cat spirit into his body to give him another chance at his ninth life. First and foremost, I'd like to say that Inkyard Press did cancel this book. There is a lot of controversy actually behind this book. So I did face this dilemma of, should I even bother reviewing it? Now, I have no idea what happened. I do know that in my limited research that the author did make some, I believe they were racist tweets. I think some of them were sexist as well. I don't condone the author's behavior at all. I do want to say that whatever they did, it was enough for the publisher to be like, yeah, we're not going to be publishing your manuscript now. So that means it was bad enough for Inkyard Press to say pass. So I don't condone what they did, whether it was sexist or racist or both or derogatory in any sense. I do not condone that. I do want to say that. Now, the reason I'm reviewing the book, why I did come to this conclusion, is because I did read the book, and the author has decided to self-publish the book under a pseudonym. Just so you guys know, I don't remember the pseudonym, but the cover matches. It does say independently published. So they decided to go ahead and publish the book themselves. So because they're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and review it so that you all know what's what with this book. If you don't want to support the author and you don't want to buy the book, by all means, don't buy it. I didn't pay for this book either. I got it as an ARC from Inkyard back before all the mess happened. So I have been pushing this review back in favor of other books, and I do have a lot of reasons for that. First and foremost, when I found out Inkyard Books canceled it, I was like, good, great, this book needs a lot of work. And it does. It needs a lot of work. I'm actually surprised that Inkyard was going to publish it in the first place, just because this book is touchy. It deals with a lot of physical abuse, emotional abuse, and drug use. So the cat, the body the body he's inhabiting, that person was not a good person. That person sold drugs. That person was possessive and violent. Basically, he'd taken over the body of someone who's quite the character. Everyone fears him. That already says a lot of him. Cat himself is very gentle. I love Cat. I think he's a very gentle, caring character. Now, the roommate. He does have a romantic relationship with his roommate. I will say this for the book. The only merit this book really has is how it delves into the complexities of what it means to be human. The emotional outlook on what it means to be human, and how complicated and messy those feelings can get, loving someone, caring for people, exploring your feelings, it can get a little messy. I think at some point we've all been there. We're not really sure what our heart wants. And that's the dilemma that, Cat faces. He has been thrust into this life that already exists, and he's not quite sure how to deal with it, how to cope with it. And that worked somewhat. His relationship with his roommate, I wasn't a fan of it because it was very toxic. The roommate, I think he was so in love with who Cat was before that he's kind of taking advantage of the fact that Cat doesn't know that they weren't really together. They were just kind of sleeping together. He doesn't really understand everything that's happening. And as far as his roommate goes, he has amnesia. He doesn't remember, and I feel like he's taking advantage of him. He's pushing him to be this person that he doesn't want to be. So that bothered me. It was very toxic. It was very uncomfortable to read, and I felt like that did a disservice to the LGBTQ community as well. Granted, I've been in toxic relationships. I understand, toxic relationships exist in any form. And the Cat does encourage his roommate to be a better person and escape, the drug dealing life, and get a regular job and find a healthy relationship. But when he does find this healthy relationship, he still cheats on him with Cat, and Cat, still confused, kind of goes along with it. I think at some point we've all kind of been in a toxic relationship without really realizing it. It took me years, looking back on my life to realize that was a toxic relationship. That's why it didn't work out. So I think it takes a lot on us to be observant and recognize that, but we don't always want to, especially when we're young and we think we're in love. We don't really understand. We're still learning about life, much like Cat is, and I think that it is realistic. However, it's still, maybe it's just because of my personal experiences, which is why I didn't enjoy it. But the fact that at the end, they're all besties, everyone's a best friend, and I'm like, okay, that's unrealistic right there. That's what bothered me. You can help someone be a better person, but really, if it's a toxic relationship, the best thing for everyone is to just kind of walk away and to just cut ties, because you always run that risk of falling back into old patterns and old behavior. It's always best to just kind of walk away and separate yourself from those people that would take advantage of you. So that's why I had an issue with this novel. I don't think it was 100% realistic. I really didn't like that toxicity in the relationship. It really bothered me. Because I've been there. I think that's why it really touched a nerve for me. It was uncomfortable for me to read, and I really do think that it did not represent, it represents real life great, but I don't think it did a good job of representing the LGBTQ community, because the LGBTQ characters were not really likable in this novel, and that's unfortunate because you kind of want it to be likable. You want someone to be likable, and really Cat and the dog Missy and really just the animals was the best part of the novel. But that ending, it was really wishy-washy. It wasn't really realistic. It was uncomfortable. It's just like, if you have toxic relationships in your life, the best thing is to just cut all ties. So I was uncomfortable with that whole scenario, with the whole dynamic and relationship. It was not well done. And I really wish an editor or someone had been like, this might, touch a few nerves. But considering the actions of the author in real life, I'm not surprised that they may have made some unsavory comments. I'm not surprised that their book was canceled. In fact, I initially thought, before I did more research into it, I initially thought the book was canceled because they decided to rework it. And I was just like, great, please rework it, redo it. And then I was on Goodreads and I was reading some of the reviews there to see if people felt the same way I did. And they did. And then someone, mentioned it was canceled. And I was like, what? And they mentioned why. And that's when I decided to do even more research. So this is really, this book had the potential, I think, to be something good, because it does delve into what it means to be human and emotions and how messy it is. It does highlight toxic relationships and how they can take any form. I just think there were some bits that were a little too unrealistic. The toxic relationship blossoming into a wholesome friendship, that was just unrealistic to me. 100% didn't feel comfortable with that at all. I didn't like it. So I have to go ahead and give this novel 2.5 stars. Once again, it could have been something good. It could have, but it just failed to be something spectacular, unfortunately. So once again, this was The Ninth Life. 2.5 stars out of 5. If you want to purchase the book, it is available on bookshop.org. If you do not want to purchase the book, I completely understand it. This is definitely not a book I would buy for myself. I definitely wouldn't buy it because I don't want to support the author's comments that they've made, especially when I don't agree with them. And especially when you can kind of see some of it translate into the book itself. It's just uncomfortable. But, if you want to see what it's about, give it a read yourself. Check out the book at your local library. You can request it for your local library. Just see if it's even worth it. Read a first page. You can read an excerpt on bookshop.org. It's included in the blurb, the description. It's just an excerpt. I personally don't think that excerpt was stylized well or written well, but that's just my opinion, and my opinion is my own. You may have a different opinion. On that note, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading, guys.